Welcome, everyone. Thanks for your interest in the Academic Alliance opportunity to join the co-op. So I'm going to be talking with you a little bit about today, myself and Dr. Susan Thomas, just a little bit about Academic Alliance. I hope by now you know who we are, that we're looking to research and disseminate those evidence-based practices in reading, writing, and math across the tiered framework of support for students, for all students, even though we focus on students with disabilities. And here's our team today. I'm with you, Deanna Pierce is the program director, and Dr. Susan Thomas is the lead facilitative coach. So we're going to be going over the co-op and answering any questions you have and providing you information about next steps. So we want to cover these things during the session with you to gain knowledge of the available evidence-based systems and instructional practices that will be offered through our co-op, understand our cooperative agreement, which will be a give-get, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, what that means, who might be appropriate to participate in each of the two cadres, and what the schedule looks like for summer training and beyond. So what is the co-op? It is the cooperative agreement between the Academic Alliance and the local education agency focusing on services and training and input and feedback. Materials, Dr. Thomas has popped into the chat. If you guys want to look at anything as we're going along, please feel free to activate that link. But what we want to do, and the give-get will be explained a little bit more, is that by offering the services and training that are individualized and designed to help your district, we hope to get input and feedback on the effectiveness and further collaboration of how we can support success for positive outcomes for students with disabilities in schools and districts across the state. So I'm going to pause here and let Dr. Thomas talk about the co-op. She is the great brain trust behind the beautiful graphic and the co-op. I laughed and said, we're not the COOP, even though we're from USC, we're the co-op, but I like the connection. So I'll pause and let her talk a little bit about each component of the co-op.
And, you know, just as a reminder, this kind of came about because over the years, and I've been around a time or two, I've watched so many states have kind of regional groups or cadres that work together on certain evidence-based practices. And I've always thought it was a good idea for South Carolina because we have a lot of small districts and a lot of big districts. And I know as a former director of a very small district, if it hadn't been for my neighboring two larger districts, I would have had a really hard time getting training in place. And so I think it's important for us to think about that as we talk about how we're going to work together. But the co-op is really about collaboration, working together because we need each other, ongoing assistance that we hope we can provide and that you can help inform of what you need, those opportunities for growth and sustainability and practices that are based on evidence. And if you'll go to the next slide. So when we think about collaboration, it's really making sure that we're identifying those contextually relevant needs that you have. It's easy to see things, but you're in the field and we need you to help inform what we're doing. We need you to provide feedback on the effectiveness of what we're doing, because if we're not meeting your needs as a technical assistance provider, then we're not doing our job. And you're the ones that have to tell us that, you know, or else we might think we're always great. And then we really want to develop tools and resources together. And by having a cadre, we've got a group of people that can help develop those tools, and then we can test them out in districts before we try to put them out for everyone. There's nothing worse than something going out, you know, to everybody, and then you realize and there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. So through that collaboration, we can develop those tools and resources. And then when we think about ongoing assistance, we want to be able to provide consultation to you. So if you join the co-op, that's an opportunity. And we don't have a ton of rules, but if you're a member of the co-op and you decide you have a problem you want to partner with or want us to help you to think about where you might find services or helping to link you to some people that can provide certain services, we're able to do that. And so doesn't have to be all the time. It's no regular meeting. You can pretty much, as a member of the co-op, email us and say, hey, you know, we're working on this. Could we set up a time to talk? And then we'll determine how we can best help you in that ongoing assistance. And then opportunities for growth and sustainability. One of the things that we've been concerned about for a long time, and this was part of the issue with research to practice for so many years, for those of you that were involved in that, is we would have trainings, people would come, there was never follow-up. There was a lone teacher might come and get great ideas, but then not have the ability to implement in the district because there was not an infrastructure in place to help support the practices. So we really want to build and strengthen your internal capacity by doing a train the trainer. So part of what we'll be doing is we will provide training to individuals that you've identified in the district as being capable of coming back to your district and training others on practices that are priorities for you. We'll have 2 cadres. One will be a systems for sustainability cadre, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that really works on building systems that go across all kinds of content areas. And the next one is the practices across the tiers. And those are those evidence-based practices that are specific to content areas or just instructional strategies. We will provide training and coaching from national experts, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then networking through communities of practice. That's one of the things we really want to start. And I'll give a plug now that Dr. Parrish is starting a community of practice for those individuals working with students with extensive support needs. That's a real need in our state. And so we will be starting networks that we can bring people together from different places to work together. And finally, identifying practices based on evidence. We will work with you to help identify those evidence-based practices that fit your need. There are a lot of good evidence-based practices out there, but it's more than just is there evidence that the practice works. We have to look at the context that you're currently in and the ability to put those things in place. And then we'll provide ongoing professional learning opportunities by national experts in different areas that you've helped us to identify. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Parrish. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I got excited and jumped right in and forgot I was on mute. So who should be joining us in the cadres? Any individual that you can identify as a point of contact for the Academic Alliance to provide feedback, an individual responsible for ensuring the systems are in place, so to support implementation. So this would be someone who has authority in your district to make sure that the practices are supported. We want people that you identify who have the ability to train, implement, and coach the practices. And this could be lead teachers, instructional specialists, coordinators. We really encourage you to think about any general education personnel that could help, especially instructional specialists. Some districts do have those instructional specialists specific to special education teachers, but most likely there is an instructional specialist in the building who is responsible for supporting all teachers. And so the information that they would be getting from either cadre would support all teachers in various ways, a systems way or individual practice ways.
And I think that's so important, just to hit that again, Deanna, is that we keep talking about most over in South Carolina, 67% of our students spend their day 80% or more of their day in the general classroom. And so these aren't little, these practices work for all students, not just students with disabilities. And I think that it will end up helping a lot of people. And so it's a great opportunity.
So for the first cadre, Systems for Sustainability, here's some examples of what this may look like. Again, we want people to join the cadres and we will make it contextually relevant for your district. Some examples that we're sharing on this side is how to select those evidence-based practices. strategies for successful implementation of any practice or any new initiative, database problem solving and database individualization, planning and providing comprehensive professional learning opportunities. So working with you to develop a system for not only train and establish foundational knowledge of a practice or initiative in your district, but how to continuously support that training and that development over time for staff who have used it, need to go to the next level of implementation, or new staff coming in. System to serve students with extensive support needs. Dr. Thomas mentioned that I'm doing some work with that. We're also partnering with Dr. Katie Wolf from University of South Carolina. This population of educators rarely gets professional learning that is dedicated specifically to their needs. So how does database individualization apply to this population of students, and how can teachers use evidence-based instructional practices or strategies to make instructional decisions to support this population? And then, of course, we want input from regarding other topics as recommended by cadre members. The second cadre, the practices across the tiers, is specific to those academic areas that we support: the reading, the writing, and the math. So here are the examples here. We've got foundations of literacy, which will directly correlate with our new ELA standards, foundations of literacy. We want to look at interventions and intensifying instruction across the board and being specific to make sure that there are reading interventions for elementary and secondary. We have heard from a lot of people about, yes, we definitely need those early literacy skills, but we also need to address those students in the middle grades or secondary programs who still are struggling readers. We will have opportunities for elementary and secondary math, universal design for learning, using the high leverage practices in special education, and of course, other things that are identified by cadre members.
And I think one thing we want to add on, just to be clear about, is that we know that letters training is taking place across the state and is, of course, going to be mandated. What we're going to be talking about is how to address the needs of students who need more. And a lot of times that's our students with dyslexia and other serious reading problems. So it won't just be a repeat of the science of reading. It'll be more about what to do to address those students that have dyslexia and other reading problems.
Okay, when is this all kicking off? Well, we're having these informational sessions now, but we encourage you to reach out to us individually, ask questions today about what this will look like. We're going to share, we've shared the materials with you, and within that is the information and the give-get agreement if you'd like to work with us. But the summer university that's hosted by the SC teams, the TA network, will be our kickoff event. And that is in Columbia, July 15th through 18th. Everything is free for the training. There is lunch provided each day. All you would need to do is pay for your travel. And based on which cadre you may be interested in, one or both, or which area you may want to target, would depend on if you needed to be there all 4 days. We do have our schedule up that supports cadre training in both areas. So the first area, Systems for Sustainability, will have data-based individualization, and that's going to be provided by Dr. Sarah Benz from NCII, and that'll be for 2 days. And we'll have writing standards aligned to IEP goals, and that's going to be Dr. Pam Stecker, and that'll be 2 days. So if you wanted to do this one, you could attend all 4 days, 2 days with Dr. Benz, 2 days with Dr. Stecker, and focus on the Systems for Sustainability. We also have several options for practices across the tiers. So for early readers, for readers in early grades, we have Dr. Devin Kearns for 2 days. And then if you were interested in continuing on the reading track for that secondary level, then we have Dr. Kim St. Martin for 2 days, focusing on those students in grades 4 through 9. Or if you wanted to, I'm going to jump down and talk about the math systems. If you are targeting your practices in elementary, you wanted to do math, and you would take Dr. Paul Riccomini's 2 days of elementary math. On the On the flip side, if you wanted to just target secondary, you might do 2 days of secondary reading and 2 days of secondary math. We also have 2 days of UDL. It's offered for 2 days, but it's a 1-day course if you're interested in implementing this in your district. We'll have 1 day on supporting students with extensive support needs as well. So there's lots of options for the practices across the tiers cadre. Suzanne, let's talk a little bit about the give-get agreements.
Okay. So one of the things we want to make sure we're clear of is kind of how we're going to work together. Having good expectations helps. So you'll notice what we offer and how we can help. And we've tried to outline that of the consultation and support that we can give you along with high quality training. And then we do want to work together to make sure that we are building tools and resources that are useful to you in the district. And then there's some expectations of what we would expect from a district, or if a charter school is operating independently, about joining our cadre, about having a point of contact. And I won't go through all of those, but it's important that we do have this ongoing development as we go through. One of the things that we want to remember too is we're going to do this summer training, but there'll also be 4 sessions of follow-up with all of our national experts for cadre members that'll be spread out throughout the year. And that'll be a virtual meeting, a chance for people to come back together from the summer, kind of talk about what's happening in that during the time that they maybe have put some of those practices in place. So, and one other thing that I just forgot about, but also as you're looking at all the things we're offering, you may have multiple teams that you send to different things. It's your choice. So it's not something we say you have to do it this way. You pick based on what you need. And so you may decide you're only going to do a couple of things right now, and that's great. Or you may have multiple teams that you want to send to address different areas within your district. So I should have fixed this. We do have a full description of the sessions. It's in the folder. We will have the schedule up in the folder. We're going to drop it in there as soon as we just finalize the last little things. Review your expectations for the co-op. And then if you have questions, you can certainly ask today, but also you can email us. And if you want to talk further personally, we'll be glad to set up a call to do that. And then if you decide that you want to join our cadre, which who wouldn't, our co-op, who doesn't want to be in the coop? Then we would love for you to complete the agreement and send it to us. And then you'll need to determine who those cadre members will be to participate in the systems piece or to participate in the practices across the tiers.
And I'll just add that for our summer university trainings, we are offering priority and early access to registration for our co-op members. So when registration goes live soon, you'll get a direct link as a co-op member and have your opportunity to pick sessions and to register for sessions before anybody else does, because we want to make sure you're getting the training because you're committing to building capacity in your district. So that's coming soon. We don't want you to forget about our evidence-based practice network, but I do want to go back and pause for any questions. Does anyone have anything for us? You can type in the chat. You can come off mute. We're glad to answer anything right now. Okay, while you may be thinking or typing, I'll just keep going. We do have an evidence-based practice network coming up next week. It's going to be a part 2 from our January session with Sarah Melton. She's going to talk about data-based individualization, making instructional decisions based on data. You can join our mailing list by scanning this QR code so you know what's coming up next. And of course, our contact information. If you'd like to reach out to us individually, we're all available through email. I don't see any questions. I don't see anything in the chat. So please, we encourage you to review the information that we shared today. We'll loop back around once you've had a chance to look at everything to see if you have any further questions for us. Again, we want this to be something that makes sense for you and will work for you. So definitely can be tailored to meet your needs. So we encourage you to sign up and join our co-op. Any final thoughts, Susan?
I can't wait for all of this to take place. It's going to be exciting, and I can't stress enough the feedback that we had last summer at Summer University from the presenters. They got excellent evaluations, but I think the thing that really hit home with me that kind of started us talking again about starting a cadre is we heard teachers say, "This is great. I'm trying to think I can use it in my classroom, but how can I tell others about it?" We heard that from multiple teachers. And so this is a great way for us to organize it.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for coming today and learning more about our co-op, and we hope to hear from you soon.